Touching discovery, Grandma's grasp reveals the incredible birthmark that bonds 5 generations. Clara felt a tremor of excitement mixed with dread as she unfolded the old family photo album in her attic. Dust motes danced in beams of soft sunlight, illuminating the worn leather cover that had long lain forgotten. Each page promised a glimpse into the lives of the women who bore the heart-shaped birthmark, a mark connecting her to generations of strength, resilience, and perhaps even burdens. As she thumbed through sepia-toned images of her ancestors, their faces alive with emotion in times of adversity, Clara's heart raced. Was this mark, this bond, a blessing or a curse? Staring back at her was a lineage steeped in stories, each one a thread rooted in struggle and determination. Yet beneath her fascination lurked skepticism. What did this mark truly represent? Clara's mind darted to her own life. She was a nurse, frequently faced with life and death decisions, yet here was a riddle that shook the very foundation of her understanding of family. Questions echoed in her mind: was the birthmark an emblem of honor, or one she ought to hide from Lily to shield her from the weight of their past? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Every woman in the photos seemed filled with courage in the face of adversity, including her great-great-grandmother Margaret's fierce determination as she championed women's rights. Clara wanted to embody that strength as a mother to Lily, yet the shadow of her own mother's dismissive tone hung thick in the air. Her mother, bitter and unsupportive, had condemned these familial tales, labeling them mere superstitions that had no place in their modern lives. The contrast strained Clara, pushed her to confront the guilt of wanting to honor the past while simultaneously seeking to break free from it. As Clara uncovered stories of hardship, the Great Depression, societal prejudice, her anxiety swelled. Injustice ran like a river through her family tree, leaving scars and unanswered questions about loyalty and grief. Panic rose within her. Was by pursuing this lineage worth diving into? What would her mother think if she learned Clara embraced the shared pain? Would uncovering the truth empower or torment Lily? Each thought tightened the knots in her stomach, urging her to hesitate, to step back from the precipice of deeper understanding. Finally, it happened: a letter from her grandmother that seemed to shimmer with the weight of a long-held secret. One breath-catching revelation twisted her heart, leading to a moral dilemma that threatened to unravel everything she believed about family, ancestry, and her role as a nurturer. In that moment, hand trembling over the letter, Clara realized the journey she embarked upon would either unite them or fracture the ties binding them deeper than the heart shapes on their skin. As she awaited what lay within the folds, her heart thrummed louder than ever, a question suspended in air: what if uncovering their history meant facing a truth that could cost her everything? Clara's heart pounded as she gently peeled open the delicate envelope. Each crease in the aged paper felt monumental, filled with promises she feared to acknowledge. As the words danced before her, revealing secrets of the past, Clara's breath caught in her throat, a mix of dread and anticipation. The letter spoke of sacrifice, of women who bore the burden of family stories in silence. The weight of those words pressed on her shoulders, drawing a tight line between her and the generations before her. Clara scanned the passages, her mind racing through the implications. The letter laid bare the harsh reality that her ancestors had lived through: abandonment, betrayal, and an unyielding fight for independence and identity. Suddenly, the light streaming through the attic window shifted, casting long shadows that reflected the doubts in her mind. The very legacy she sought to honor appeared to be intertwined with pain she had long since pushed aside in her own life, particularly the discord that had erupted between her and her mother. Clara closed her eyes, trying to quiet the storm within. Would connecting with this lineage strengthen her resolve or pull her deeper into the web of past grievances? She envisioned Lily's bright eyes, innocent and full of potential. How would this legacy shape the way she raised her? Could she spare her daughter from the burdens rooted in their lineage, or did Lily have to embrace every fractured piece of their history to thrive? The fear of what this exploration could unleash gnawed at her, yet an ember of courage flickered within. Clara recalled the image of her great-great-grandmother, standing firm, her heart-shaped birthmark a defiant secret that symbolized the unshakable spirit of women who had endured and overcome. Perhaps Clara could finally shed the perspective that had been imposed upon her, the one that deemed these stories worthless tales. Instead, could she emerge from the shadows cast by her mother's disapproval and embrace this birthmark as a badge of honor? Determined, Clara cradled the letter against her chest, feeling the tangible connection to the women who had come before. Navigating the complexity of her feelings toward her mother, Clara resolved to carve her own path, one that didn't ignore the past but instead sought to in a profoundly nurturing manner decipher it. The love within those words could spiral into not just understanding but empowerment for her and Lily. The universe began to align. Clara envisioned ways to incorporate these stories into Lily's life, making them relatable lessons rather than haunting legends. Every anecdote could inspire confidence, resilience, and authenticity. As she turned her gaze back to the family album, Clara felt an intrinsic shift within her, a sense of duty not just to helmet her daughter from past pains, but to illuminate their strength and vulnerability. This newfound resolve brought new questions bubbling to the surface. How would her grandmother react to Clara diving deeper into their history? Would she unleash even more secrets, or could this shared discovery forge a new bond between generations? The looming uncertainty filled Clara with a mix of excitement and trepidation. The conversation with her grandmother would not only test their relationship but would ultimately define the kind of legacy Clara wished to impart. As Clara faced the sunlight streaming through the attic, illuminating the dust particles like floating hopes, she knew one thing unequivocally: she was preparing to confront the truths of her heritage head-on. The time had come to face the narratives that mattered most to her and perhaps to uncover what lay hidden within her grandmother's heart that could resonate through the legacy of women bound by more than mere birthmarks. With one last glance at the album, Clara took a deep breath and made her decision. The moment of truth was upon her, and she felt prepared to embrace not only her past but the profound possibilities it held for the future. A wave of determination washed over her as she realized she could indeed shape what their legacy would look like. And yet, she couldn't shake the thought what family secrets were truly left to unearth, and how profoundly would they alter the essence of who she had believed herself to be. Clara descended the attic stairs, the weight of the letter still nestled tightly in her grip. Each creak of the wooden steps echoed her racing heartbeat, a reminder of the convergence of past and present that awaited her in the living room. As she approached the door, she paused, inhaling deeply, the air laden with the scent of aged wood and time-tangible remnants of her family's lineage. Her grandmother, Agnes, was seated in her favorite armchair, the one that seemed to cradle her like a precious artifact of their collective history. There was an undeniable fragility to her frame now, but also an indomitable strength that Clara admired. It was a duality that resonated with Clara's own journey, the same tension she felt roiling within herself. As she entered, Clara's resolve wavered slightly. She needed to confront the unspoken truths that hung so heavily between them. The silence felt daunting, both a barrier and a bridge. With delicate precision, Clara held out the letter, trying to mask the trembling uncertainty in her voice. "Grandma, I found something that speaks to us, our heritage. I think it's time we talked about it." Agnes's eyes, so much like Clara's, flitted to the letter as she took it reluctantly. A flicker of recognition, mingled with apprehension, passed over her features. Clara couldn't help but wonder what her grandmother was reading into her gesture. Would this be a moment of connection, or would it unravel deeper frayed threads of resistance? "I've heard stories, Clara," Agnes said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "But they were always too painful. They hurt your mother too, and I was protecting you." There was a weight to her admission that hung heavily in the air. Painful. The word struck Clara like a chord, vibrating through the silence, amplifying her determination. "But Grandma, those stories are part of who we are. Is shielding us really what we need?" Agnes met Clara's gaze with newfound steadiness, her grip tightening on the letter as she prepared to delve into memories choking her down, suffocating her thoughts for decades. "Do you have any idea what those secrets could do? They could tear our family apart." Still, there was a flicker of curiosity and defiance in her eyes, igniting the spark Clara needed to push forward. At that moment, Clara felt the weight of her mission to understand, to confront, and ultimately to heal. But Grandma, if we can confront our past together, don't you think our bond could grow stronger? These stories don't have to define us negatively. She pressed on, emboldened by her own words. They can teach us resilience. We've lost so much, shouldn't we embrace our history rather than hide from it? Agnes hesitated, but the shadows of their shared lineage stirred within her, urging her to open the vault of memories that lay nestled beneath her heart. Clara sensed the shift. It was palpable, the air thick with unsaid words yet to flow between them, binding generations lost in silence and misunderstandings. With a deep breath, Agnes released the tension gripping her. "All right, but I warn you, some memories may cut deeper than you think." Clara nodded, excitement surfacing amidst her apprehension. The anticipation of discovery felt electric, surging through her veins as they sat down across from each other. This was the precipice of revelations about not only their lineage but also about Clara's own identity as a mother and daughter intertwined with generations of formidable women. As Agnes shared her first story, one steeped in defiance against a world that sought to undermine them, Clara clenched her fists, ready to absorb each lesson, each scar, each triumph. The importance of laboring through each word was not lost on her. As revelations poured into the space between them, she felt textures of strength unraveling her own apprehensions, yet, as the stories unfolded, Clara couldn't shake the feeling that more than just tales awaited them. What if the secrets included more than just personal struggles? What legacy lay intertwined with the deep agonies and triumphs? A darkness loomed. Inches away from unearthing something irrevocable, each narrative invoked emotional tensions within Clara, binding her to the legacies before her, yet simultaneously pushing her to confront what she truly believed about herself and her past. This was not merely storytelling, it was a confrontation with roots she had tried to understand but never fully embraced. As the afternoon sun cast warm rays through the window, Clara felt a call to action echoing in her mind. She needed to confront the past while empowering herself and her daughter to carry these tales forward, yet doubt persisted. Would uncovering the secrets affix new burdens to their relationship? Clara's heart raced as she faced the enormity of what lay ahead. How deep would the roots run, and what would they find entwined within their history? The stories had begun, but Clara understood one thing: the journey was just starting, and what they would unearth may change everything. Clara leaned forward, the setting sun casting a golden light through the living room window as her grandmother's voice started to weave the fabric of their history. Agnes spoke of a time filled with hardship, of choices made out of necessity rather than desire. Each syllable was pregnant with meaning, layers of emotion unraveling as Clara listened intently. The stories were rough around the edges, laced with a resilience Clara never fully grasped until now, yet, the deeper Agnes ventured into her past, the more Clara felt the pulse of a hidden truth beckoning from the shadows, something powerful that could shift the foundation of their lives. It hung in the air like a specter, teasing at the edges of their conversation, yet not quite revealing itself. Clara's heart raced with anticipation, a longing to unearth the core of her family's struggles, her eyes pinning her grandmother in place. "Tell me about the necklace," Clara urged, recalling the fleeting reference Agnes had made earlier to a heirloom said to possess a unique significance. The moment she uttered the words, the room tilted. Agnes's eyes flickered, narrowing with unease, as if she were weighing her words against the weight of generations. "It's not just a necklace, Clara. It's a symbol of the burdens we carry," Agnes finally confessed, her voice trembling slightly. "Worn by your great-grandmother at a time when our family faced unfathomable decisions. A jewel of hope that seemed to flip into despair." Something about Agnes's admission made Clara's skin prickle. This necklace seemed to symbolize not only family pride but an anchor dragging them back into painful waters. "What happened?" She pressed gently, her curiosity urging Agnes to continue, aware that unearthing this history meant lighting a path through murky waters. "The necklace was lost during a great upheaval, one that tore our family apart," Agnes replied, her voice thickening as memories clouded her eyes. "We believed it was lost forever, but it was the severing of familial ties that truly made it disappear. Nobody spoke of it again. Secrets ensued, wrapping them tighter as generations passed. Clara felt the weight of Agnes's words. Her instinct screamed that understanding the true significance of this necklace could give her precious insight not just into her family's past, but into her own identity. If there was a physical token, perhaps there were hidden meanings behind her own choices, a lineage echoed in her being that needed exploration. What if we can find it? Clara whispered, the thought igniting a glimmer of hope. What if getting it back can help us uncover what was hidden from us? Agnes seemed to wrestle with the suggestion, her expression a mingling of shock and intrigue. Clara, the past is not simply waiting to be revealed. What if you find more than you bargained for? What if it changes you? Clara's brow furrowed, a flicker of doubt catching in her mind. Yet she was anchored by an internal resolve that had yet to resurface until now. I'm ready to face whatever may come. Aren't we always stronger when we confront our truths? Together. In that moment, Clara saw a shift in her grandmother. The look of fear faded, replaced with resignation and something unyielding. The traces of their lineage echoed possibility, the kind of possibility that inspired a sonorous reverberation within Clara's spirit. They could reclaim what was lost, sewing together the fragments of their heritage torn apart by years of silence. All right, Agnes finally said, resolving just enough to stir her own bravery. We will search for the necklace. It will likely not be easy, and we may unearth more skeletons than we are prepared to face. Are you sure you are ready for that journey? Clara locked eyes with her grandmother, feeling a mix of excitement and trepidation bubbling within her. Yes, Grandma. I want to unveil the truth. It's time. We owe it to ourselves and those who came before us. As they began to map out the steps toward reclaiming the missing heirloom, the air thickened with anticipation. Clara couldn't help but wonder, was the necklace simply a symbolic ornament, or could it be the key to unlocking not only her family's hidden legacies but also the undiscovered depths of her own identity? With determination coiling inside her, Clara felt ready to embark on a treasure hunt steeped in personal discovery. But as her thoughts spiraled around the past, she sensed that the burdens they would soon uncover might just draw them into an emotional quake that neither was prepared for. Would the upcoming journey reveal their strength, or would it fester wounds long neglected? The questions loomed, and Clara was compelled to find answers that would shape not only her connection with Agnes but also her role as a mother who would protect her daughter from a history she had yet to confront fully. In that compelling moment, with new resolve solidified, Clara made a promise to herself: she would dive beneath the layers of legacy, no matter how dark the depths might become, ready to confront shadows that had lingered for far too long. What awaited them in the depths of that history would test everything she believed about strength and forgiveness. As the conversation faded, leaving Clara in a spiral of thoughts and emotions, she couldn't shake the feeling that the search for the necklace beckoned them past painful secrets and towards an unimaginable revelation that lay ahead. What lay beneath each memory stitched tightly into the fabric of their family could very well redefine their future. Clara sat on the edge of her grandmother's worn armchair, the fabric rough against her fingertips as she started to sketch a plan. Each stroke of her pen mapped not just the physical journey ahead, but the emotional landscape she anticipated navigating with Agnes by her side. The search for the necklace had ignited an ember of determination within her, a force she hadn't realized was buried so deep. First, we need to gather as much information as we can, Clara proposed, her voice steady despite the churning mix of curiosity and anxiety roiling within her. We should start with the family records, letters, anything that might give a clue about where it could be or who might have seen it last. Agnes nodded, a shared understanding forming between them. This was more than just a search for a tangible object. It was about unraveling a history steeped in silence and misunderstanding. The emotional archaeology of their family could very well change everything Clara understood about loyalty, betrayal, and the delicate thread of identity. The following days morphed into a labyrinthine quest. Hours were spent sifting through aging boxes in the attic, the dust swirling like memory itself, lending a bittersweet weight to each discovery. Old photographs, dog-eared letters, and forgotten keepsakes emerged, filling Clara with a desire to honor those who came before her and reconnect the severed lines of their shared narrative. One evening, Clara stumbled upon a stack of letters tied together with a faded ribbon, her great-grandmother's handwriting, elegant yet slightly shaky. Deep breaths filled the air as she carefully unraveled the ribbon, allowing her to peel back a layer of history shrouded in secrecy. Each letter unraveled a story of love, loss, and resilience, of choices made in terrifying circumstances and a hope that once flickered brightly but had since been dimmed. As she read, Clara felt a fire ignite within her. She understood now that the necklace was not merely a family heirloom, it was an emblem of identity, a tangible connection to the lives and struggles that had shaped her lineage. The thought propelled her forward. What if, she murmured to Agnes one afternoon, the journey to find the necklace means confronting the very choices that broke our family apart? What if those choices were born out of fear instead of bravery? Agnes sighed, eyes narrowing as she contemplated the implications. It is possible. To understand the past, we might have to face the uncomfortable truths surrounding it. They might redefine us both as individuals and as a family. Are we ready for the reality of that? Clara hesitated, the weight of her grandmother's words bearing down on her. What if the truth they uncovered was more than just painful memories? What if it was a fountain of understanding, allowing for healing and a chance to break cycles that had only served to imprison them? With every ounce of will, she steeled herself for the confrontation ahead. It would be a journey layered with risks, but the potential for growth was too profound to ignore. As days turned into weeks, Clara honed her focus, shifting from the hunt for the necklace to a deeper exploration of her familial context. She found herself documenting patterns, writing down her reflections, the realization dawning on her that this search was about personal evolution as much as it was about reclaiming a lost heirloom. It was about stepping into her power, learning to navigate her own fears and insecurities in the process. In pursuing the riches of their family heritage, Clara unearthed her own hidden competencies: the strength of vulnerability, the courage to confront shadows, the empathy to connect disparate pieces of her family's history while forging her identity. She became acutely aware that in acknowledging their pain, they could cultivate a sense of hope and solidarity that spanned generations, but amidst the momentum building around Clara, doubt crept in like an uninvited guest. Would the truths they were discovering prove to be unifying, or would they finally expose the fault? Lines too deeply buried to mend. As Clara stared at her latest notes, contemplating the complexity of human history, she felt the shift of engagement surrounding the search deepening. A sense of urgency gripped her. The urgency was no longer solely about the necklace but about reclaiming a legacy that sought understanding. What lay ahead demanded closer inspection, a reckoning that could either unify their fractured stories or unravel them further. Was she truly prepared to confront the revelations hidden within her family's past? The stakes rose higher as Clara prepared to plunge into the sentiments brimming beneath the surface. The moment of truth approached, and with it, a realization that defined clarity. Standing at the precipice of what could culminate in transformation, she sensed the narrative of her family yearning to unfold. The next move would set the stage for a confrontation that would demand both bravery and resolve. What awaited them in the shadows of these revelations whispered promises of catharsis, but at what cost? Clara's determination ignited a fierce resolve, pushing her beyond the threshold of uncertainty. Each letter she deciphered unveiled a deeper understanding of the emotional landscape that had shaped her family's legacy. Yet, the burden of confronting long-buried secrets pressed heavily against her chest. Unease mingled with enthusiasm as she gathered her thoughts, ready to face the impending confrontation. What if the very choices that tore us apart were instead pathways we could use to reconnect? She mused aloud to Agnes one evening, the remnants of daylight filtering through the attic window. The dusty air shimmered, paralleling the flicker of hope that had taken root in her mind. Agnes, immersed in her own contemplations, remained silent, her expression a tapestry of wariness and wisdom. Fueled by courage, Clara decided to reach deeper into the familial narratives they were unearthing. If these stories had the power to fracture relationships, perhaps they also held the key to healing them. As she meticulously organized her notes, Clara began to connect dots that had lain dormant for too long. Patterns emerged, revealing that grief often masqueraded as resentment within her family circle. Days transitioned seamlessly into nights as Clara spent countless hours dissecting her family's turbulent history. Every revelation led to new questions, and she found herself driven not just by a desire for closure, but for clarity. What lessons lay buried in the places where love had once flourished before anguish set in? In the dim light of her grandmother's home, Clara transformed her findings into a comprehensive narrative. She didn't just want to reclaim the necklace, she sought the essence of resilience her family possessed. Each word she documented served as both tribute and testament. As she processed the fractured fragments of their shared past, a new realization dawned, a sense of belonging that resonated through all the strife. No one family is devoid of hardships, she recorded, noting the myriad choices made from survival instincts. Those choices weren't merely mistakes, they were responses to circumstances. Clara felt a surge of respect for the women who had come before her. Each had fought their battles in silence, and often without the affirmation they deserved, yet, with newfound respect came the sobering question, would her own family's stories reciprocate that compassion? Clara's stomach twisted at the thought. What if her grandmother remained closed off to all that she was about to reveal? Would Agnes embrace the truth, or would she recoil, unwilling to confront the ghosts of the past? That night, Clara dreamt of shadows dancing around her, figures of her ancestors beckoning her to unearth their truths. Their faces, a blend of anguish and hope, implored her to act. When she awoke, she felt an undeniable urgency to share what she had unearthed with Agnes. They needed to stand united for the revelations that awaited. With a quiet determination, Clara arranged a meeting, a sacred moment she hoped would bridge the gaps carved by silence for generations. She could no longer keep this treasure trove of knowledge to herself. The very fabric of their family depended on this encounter, yet Clara's heart raced with uncertainty at the thought of the confrontation ahead. As Clara polished her notes and prepared a small presentation, she sensed the charged energy swirling around her. This was more than a meeting, it was a catalyst for change. Each word she had written held the promise of understanding, a pathway leading to healing. Time seemed to stretch as she counted down the moments until Agnes would arrive. Clara questioned her own resolve. What if this confrontation gave way to a fight rather than unity? Doubts lingered, whispering dark possibilities to undermine her confidence, but within those self-doubts lay a deeper urge, a fierce push against the shadows in her mind. She silently reminded herself of the strength gained through vulnerability, of the stories that demanded to be told. This journey had already changed her, shining a bright light on her hidden capabilities. Courage surged through her veins as she recalled the resilience her ancestors had displayed against adversity. Clara took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment pressing down on her. What awaited during this meeting, she pondered, might transform not just their afternoon but their entire familial legacy. The air thickened with anticipation as the door creaked open. The time had come to face the shadows together, but would they emerge into the light? Clara's heart raced as Agnes stepped through the door, her expression a mixture of confusion and curiosity. The moment felt monumental, and Clara fought to steady herself under the weight of anticipation. "Clara," Agnes said slowly, taking in the scattered papers and notes spread across the table like a jigsaw puzzle awaiting completion. "What's this all about?" "Thank you for coming," Clara replied, her voice steady despite the tumult within. "I've made some discoveries about our family. I really think it's important we talk about them." Agnes raised an eyebrow, and Clara caught the flicker of skepticism. This was her moment, but how to begin? She realized that to connect with Agnes, she had to share not just the facts but the feelings behind them. Clara took a breath, allowing the memory of her late grandmother's unwavering gaze to fill her with confidence. "Everything started with the letters I found in the attic," she began, lifting her notes with purpose. "They reveal a legacy of strength and sorrow, woven tightly together. My intention isn't just to uncover the past, it's to heal the wounds that echo through us all." Clara's hands trembled slightly as she flipped to the pages detailing the stories that resonated within her. She recounted the battles their ancestors faced, the tough choices made in the ripples of grief. Each tale unfolded like an intricate tapestry, unpacking the layers of resilience that had spanned generations. Yet, with every word, Clara sensed Agnes's guarded demeanor. "Do you remember the stories Grandma used to tell us?" Clara pressed, desperate to find common ground. "These were women who fought quietly. They shaped our family's legacy through their struggles. I believe we owe it to them and ourselves to acknowledge that legacy fully. Agnes crossed her arms, her expression hardening. Acknowledging the past doesn't change what happened. Why dig up old wounds if it won't do any good? This rebuttal struck Clara like a cold wave. Could it be that Agnes felt the weight of familial shame? A flash of doubt crept into her mind, nearly silencing the resolve that had brought her here. Clara paused, sensing the transition from anticipation into turmoil. Because healing requires understanding, Clara replied, her voice firmer now. If we don't confront these stories, they will continue to weigh us down, passed from one generation to the next. I want to break that cycle, Agnes. For a moment, silence enveloped them, and Clara's heart pounded in the stillness. She could see Agnes softening, a flicker of vulnerability breaking through as their eyes locked. It was a fleeting moment, but Clara seized it, feeling the rush of hope surge within. Let me show you something. Clara reached for her notebook, flipping to a specific page filled with notes about their great-grandmother's love story, the obstacles faced and the love that triumphed against overwhelming odds. She read aloud, her voice revealing the layers of emotion intertwined with pain. As Clara narrated the tale, she felt herself slipping into a different space, one where the stories poured out, untethered and raw. Each word echoed the heart of her ancestors' struggles, a testament to survival and unity. And with that, she felt the barriers between her and Agnes begin to thaw. It's about legacy, Clara concluded, looking at Agnes with urging eyes. Our heritage is a testament to how love persists amid hardship. I believe we can harness that strength to reshape our narrative. Agnes shifted in her seat, uncertainty flickering across her features. What if we can't? What if some stories are too painful to face? Together, we can embrace the pain, Clara replied, the conviction in her voice growing. We can redefine our story, turning echoes of sorrow into building blocks for who we are. But we need to start now before we end up lost in silence again. Clara watched as the weight of her words settled over Agnes. The room seemed to pulse with unexpressed emotions, and for a heartbeat, hope and fear mingled in the air, raw and electric. Trust me, Clara said, her breath hitching. This is our chance to rebuild. If we can navigate through the darkness together, think of what might rise in its place. The silence hung thick, too poised, too fragile. Would Agnes break? Would the first step toward healing begin here? Clara's thoughts raced with the possibilities ahead, splitting between anticipation and dread. As if sensing a shift, Agnes reluctantly nodded, her defenses beginning to unravel. All right, she whispered, the determination creeping into her tone. Let us see what's waiting for us in the shadows. Clara felt a surge of triumph and terror. They were on the precipice, standing before the abyss of their shared history, yet she couldn't shake the feeling that something deeper awaited them. What if those shadows held both unimaginable truths and an unexpected bond that could forever alter their relationship? The walls of silence began to tremble as Clara prepared to step into the unknown, ready to uncover the truth that could unite them or tear them further apart. As Agnes gazed into Clara's eyes, uncertainty shadowing her features, the air thickened with both hope and apprehension. Clara could practically feel the heartbeat of generations past encircling them, urging her to take the next step. It felt like standing on the edge of a great chasm, teetering between fear and the thrill of discovery. Let us start with your great-grandmother, Clara suggested, drawing Agnes's attention more firmly. Her story isn't just an old tale, it's a part of us, shaping who we are and who we might become. She watched as Agnes's shoulders began to relax slightly. There was a fleeting softness in her expression that encouraged Clara to push further. I found this heirloom in the attic that belonged to her, Clara continued, pulling a delicate locket from her pocket and holding it out toward Agnes. It was her way of keeping the memories of her loved ones close, an artifact of love and connection. Agnes studied the locket, her skepticism slowly melting into intrigue. Why would it matter now? She asked, her tone tinged with both curiosity and a hint of vulnerability. Because it's not just a piece of jewelry, Clara urged, her enthusiasm blossoming. It symbolizes resilience. Every scratch and worn edge tells a story. It's a reminder of who we are meant to be. Clara's voice softened as she urged Agnes to take the locket, sensing this was pivotal. We share blood, experience, and now, this moment. Agnes's fingers brushed against the locket, and for a fleeting second, Clara observed a flicker of nostalgia cross her cousin's face. It was as if Agnes were standing at the threshold of their shared history, tightly woven but long unattended. Clara took a breath, tapping into that shared legacy of strength she had so deeply felt. I believe uncovering our history can empower us, Clara said, her voice gaining traction. This isn't about dredging up pain, it's about embracing our roots. What if we were to transform our understanding of this narrative to recognize the strength within our lineage? Agnes remained quiet, considering Clara's words. However, Clara could see the barriers wavering. Each moment they spent exploring their history together felt like a thread unraveling from a tightly woven tapestry. Do you remember the birthmark? Clara ventured, leaning in, desperate to kindle Agnes's recollection. That unique mark passed down through generations, something Grandma always pointed out. It connects us, a tangible piece of our shared identity. The mention of the birthmark struck a chord, an almost palpable connection to the past. Agnes shifted in her seat, eyes narrowing thoughtfully as she glanced at the locket. You think it means something? I do, Clara replied, her heart racing as she seized the opening. It's our mark of resilience, a reminder that we are never alone. Each woman in our line faced their own battles, but they endure. That strength flows through us. A moment of silence hung in the air, charged with the weight of Clara's convictions. Clara realized that Agnes was shifting, her internal walls beginning to crack. This wasn't just a conversation, it was an invitation to heal. Tentatively, Agnes opened the locket, its hinges creaking like an ancient door. Inside lay a small image of Clara's grandmother, her youthful smile a beacon of warmth amid the shadows of time. She looked so happy, Agnes murmured, almost to herself. That happiness was born from her ability to confront the past, Clara interjected, sensing the breakthrough. She navigated grief, but she always held on to hope. We can do the same. Agnes looked at Clara, and for the first time, Clara felt like she was not just speaking to a wall but an open spirit yearning to connect with its roots. However, questions still lingered in Agnes's eyes. But what if we uncover something painful? Clara's stomach nodded, recognizing the weight of her response. We will face it together, no matter how heavy. It's part of our legacy, and it deserves to be honored. Imagine how liberating it will be to transform that pain into strength. Yes, Agnes whispered, her voice breaking slightly. It was an admission, a quiet acceptance of the journey ahead. Clara felt a rush of adrenaline. Yet, beneath that surge of hope lingered the apprehension of what truths lay hidden beneath their family's surface. As the evening light began to fade, casting elongated shadows across the room, Clara understood that their exploration had only just begun. Would they find healing in the wounds of their past, or would they unearth deeper scars that had yet to be healed? The truth remained cloaked in the shadows, waiting to be unearthed. Clara steeled her resolve, knowing they stood on the cusp of something profound, an exploration that could very well reshape everything they thought they understood about themselves, and about each other. What awaited them could either forge stronger bonds or widen existing rifts. With adrenaline coursing through her veins, Clara prepared for the first shared revelation. Together, they would dive deep, not just for understanding, but for their very souls. Agnes held the locket delicately in her hand, her heartbeat echoing in the stillness of the room. Clara observed with keen interest, recognizing that they were inching closer to a pivotal moment in Agnes's emotional journey. Each flicker of doubt and curiosity across Agnes's face reflected the internal battle of confronting a past she hadn't fully acknowledged. What else do you know about her? Agnes finally asked, her tone shifting toward a deeper inquisitiveness. Clara sensed this as a turning point, a crack in the walls of self-imposed silence that had kept Agnes tethered to her fears. My great-grandmother was a trailblazer in her time, Clara replied, stepping into a narrative she had long cherished. She started a small business during the Depression. Imagine the courage it took for a woman back then to stand against societal norms. She didn't only survive, she thrived. The admiration in Clara's voice came from a place of personal inspiration, drawing strength from this woman's history. Agnes chuckled softly, intrigued. I didn't know that. Keeping a business afloat back then sounds like a Herculean task. As she spoke, her initial skepticism began to be replaced by recognition. The connection they were forging momentarily muted the ghosts of the past. It was, Clara acknowledged, searching for an anchor to deepen the unfolding dialogue. But she made connections, built a network of women who empowered each other. They exchanged ideas, supported each other's ventures. Her experiences inspire me. I want to harness that kind of strength too. Agnes studied Clara for a moment, and Clara thought she detected admiration mixed with envy in her cousin's gaze. I've always felt that I lacked your tenacity, Agnes admitted quietly, almost as if she were whispering a secret. There's an unease that grips me whenever I think about stepping outside of my comfort zone. Clara seized the moment, her heart racing with the weight of Agnes's admission. What if you discovered that tenacity was already a part of you? You're not just wandering through life, you have a lineage of strong women ensuring that you never walk alone. The words poured out with an urgency driven by their shared legacy. Do I really? The vulnerability in Agnes's tone cut through the tension. Clara reached out with a tentative hand, resting it gently on Agnes's forearm. Absolutely. Just like the birthmark, you carry her strength inside you. We can explore that together, unearth layers of who you are. Let us find your own story. But along with the exhilaration of hope, Clara felt the chill of looming fear creeping in. What if their exploration unearthed truths Agnes wasn't ready to confront? And if it does bring up the painful things? Agnes's voice trembled slightly, reigniting Clara's concern. Clara chose her words carefully, understanding that this was a crucial moment. We'll face it, but we do so on your terms. You're holding the map, and I'll walk by your side. Let us unveil the narratives that shaped us, even if it's uncomfortable. With a slow nod, Agnes turned her gaze back to the locket, her expression a blend of determination and apprehension. Okay, let us reach for those hidden stories. I'm ready, but scared. Scared is good, Clara replied, boosting with conviction. It means you're stepping into your own power. This idea darted through Clara's mind, igniting an unexpected wave of her own clarity. The convergence of fear and courage was the very essence of growth. As they began to explore more about their family history, Clara felt an electric energy igniting the air between them. But with each revelation, she could not shake off a rising intuition that their inquiries would lead to something beyond mere history. They were unearthing the very fabric of themselves, yet, beneath the thrill of discovery loomed her own unanswered questions. Did she possess the resilience to confront her family's darkest chapters and emerge unscathed? What would they uncover about themselves and each other that they weren't prepared to face? With those thoughts swirling, Clara knew they were poised on the brink of an emotional awakening, a deeper dive into the unexplored facets of their shared heritage. As she prepared to broach the next topic, she felt the weight of the stories yet to unfold. Would truth become their ally or their adversary as they stepped further into the shadows of their family's past? The next revelation could change everything. Clara felt a surge of mixed emotions as she arranged her notes, anticipation and anxiety intertwined. The journey she had undertaken alongside Agnes reached a critical juncture. They stood on the brink of unveiling the deeper layers of their family history, a history fraught with both pain and triumph. The search for the locket had morphed into something expansive. This was about clarity, connection, and ultimately, empowerment. Let us speak about the necklace, Clara urged, her determination solidifying around the notion that this precious heirloom wasn't merely lost in time, it was imbued with the very essence of their shared legacy. Perhaps its recovery could illuminate family secrets we've hidden for far too long. Are you with me? Agnes nodded slowly, the gravity of Clara's words settling in the air between them. "Yes, let's find out what truly lies beneath our family's surface," she replied. Clara felt a sense of relief at Agnes's willingness, but apprehension lingered. How deeply had they buried their truths? Would their pursuit lead to growth or new fractures? Days transitioned into nights filled with focused exploration. Each letter, each photograph unearthed not only fed the mystery of the locket but also inspired a newfound strength within Clara. She observed Agnes transform, shedding layers of doubt. The stories they revisited sparked small fires of resilience in Agnes's demeanor. She began to embrace her own legacy, reflecting the spirit of those women who had fought for agency and love. While ruminating over a story of betrayal involving her great-grandmother, Clara felt a sense of liberation surging inside her. It wasn't merely about understanding pain, it was about reshaping it, transforming the sorrow into wisdom and growth. Grandma overcame that betrayal, finding the courage to start anew. "We, too, can redefine our narratives, Agnes," she encouraged. "Our legacy doesn't define us, it empowers us." Clara sensed a shift. Agnes was grappling with her insecurities but gradually starting to embody the strength that had always flowed through their lineage. This phase wasn't just reflective, it was transformational. Clara felt a bubbling optimism rooted in the reality that they were discovering not only stories but healing mechanisms. The heightened anticipation culminated when Clara uncovered a final set of letters in a box tucked deep in the attic. The faint scent of time wafted through the air as she lifted the yellowed papers, a treasure map leading them to the crux of their inquiry. "Agnes, look!" Clara exclaimed, eyes wide with excitement. This could be the link to the necklace. As they pored over the faded letters, now laden with profound relevance, the narrative thickened. Clara felt an urgency, the luminous imprint of generations pressed against her heart. She side-eyed Agnes, whose brow furrowed but held a glimmer of intrigue. "I think I found something," Agnes said, her voice tentative yet laced with the thrill of discovery. There's a mention of a small family gathering during which the necklace was last seen. The description points to a hidden location. Where? Clara's pulse quickened, the desire to uncover their heritage fiercely swelling within her. "A family friend's home, they never returned to reclaim it after." Agnes's voice trailed off, Clara's heart raced with exhilaration mixed with trepidation. They were on the cusp of a revelation that could illuminate years of silence. "Then that's it. We need to go back to that friend's home," Clara determined, resolve sealing her words as they began planning their visit. Their journey had become more than a search for a tangible object. It transformed into a pilgrimage to reclaim their identity, a rite of passage indeed, stitching back together the fabric of a lineage tested by time and trauma. With every passing day, Clara culminated a deeper confidence, realizing that confronting the past was tantamount to paving the way for their future, an authentic journey of self-discovery for both her and Agnes. As they stood at the threshold of that family's home, Clara understood, this was the moment where everything they uncovered would gift them clarity and power. Each step on the creaky wooden floorboards resonated with ancestral reminders, memories yearning for acknowledgement. Once inside, memories surfaced like ghosts within the walls. Each corner of the room breathed with a narrative demanding recognition. Clara and Agnes split into teams, scouring through drawers, under dusty rugs, and scattered boxes. Hope blossomed as they discovered old photographs, pockets of memories clutching onto time, and then it happened. A glint of gold caught Clara's eye. "Agnes!" she cried, excitement bubbling in her voice as she reached a hidden compartment beneath an old mirror. Within it lay a small, ornate box. As Clara reached for it, her heart raced with the promise of revelation. The box creaked open to reveal the missing necklace, a heart-shaped jewel nestled like an heirloom within their family's very essence. Clara's breath caught in her throat, realization dawning upon her. This was more than a piece of jewelry. It was a symbol of endurance and legacy, a connection binding them across generations. Brimming with triumph, she turned to Agnes, whose eyes widened with disbelief and gratitude. "We did it!" Clara exclaimed, her spirit soaring. "We've reclaimed not just the necklace but a piece of our very story." The emotions reflected through Agnes's eyes echoed Clara's resurgence, a glow igniting the space binding their souls in mutual acknowledgement of their intertwined existence. The journey had proved them capable of exploring the shadows together, forging a brave new understanding of their identity. Clara, all those years of silence between us, they can finally be rewritten, Agnes uttered, her voice filled with a new conviction. Bringing this home feels like a revival. With the necklace cradled safely, they embraced the breakthrough, the bond that had once felt tenuous now solidified by shared strength. Clara felt a wave of fulfillment wash over her, each piece fitting into place as she recognized how far they had come. They had transformed not only their perception of their family's history but also their roles as daughters and mothers, inheriting and recreating legacies that would be shared with future generations. As Clara left the house that day with the heart-shaped necklace shimmering against the familial backdrop, a renewed sense of purpose blossomed within her. The past was no longer a burden but a bedrock upon which they would build. No longer bound by fear, but driven by resilience and hope, Clara and Agnes had become stewards of their narrative, a legacy they would cherish, honor, and pass down to the next generation. This was their triumph, the story of 5 generations transformed not through silence, but by the courage to uncover the truth and embrace their shared identity. Now, it's time for you to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm you need to show your support for these inspiring journeys. Comment your reactions and theories about this ending. Let us spark a conversation. And don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this conclusion. True fans of personal overcoming stories understand the significance of supporting our community through these moments of achievement. It's your time to engage.